2 weeks since she went missing, and we are back here at Ada Lewis Middle School, which has been abandoned for over a decade. And we got the update from police that they found human remains belonging to a female. They say these remains have only been here no longer than a week, obviously.
Just want to give you an update on the case regarding 23-year-old Kada Scott, who went missing on October 4th. A little bit of a somber and grateful moment here right now. Based on tips that have come in over the past few days, as we called on earlier this week, asking for the public to provide any information, any tips, and the public has been fantastic in providing tips and information, and we greatly appreciate that. But based on a tip that came in late last night through the night, investigators began the process of following up on that tip this morning, starting around 10 o'clock this morning, following up on that tip. And the tip was very specific that led us back to this location here today, which you all know we were out here earlier in the week doing a little bit of a search. And so based on the investigative information, based on the investigation and what they were following up on that tip today, led us back to this area behind the school.
Heartbreaking news for a lot of people to hear. And while police are not confirming that this is Kada Scott, they are obviously acknowledging the high possibility. And police say now the medical examiner will need to confirm who this person is, the remains, who they belong to, and everything will kind of go according from there on. So if you've been following the case, Kada Scott, she was last seen at her workplace, and that is over at the terrace at Chestnut Hill. That was 2 weeks ago, the night of October 4th. Police have said that she showed up to work and was only there for about 20 minutes, and then she disappeared. And throughout this investigation, we've then learned that the last person she had communication with is a 21-year-old named Keon King. And police say they have evidence digitally as well as through video that this was the last person that she interacted with. Now, Keon King, he was arrested earlier in the week. He turned himself in Tuesday night. Police announced the arrest Wednesday. He's facing several charges, including kidnapping. And we know that there are other prior victims who've now come forward, including the victim of another 2025 prior kidnapping case that was withdrawn from court in May. But obviously, the big news here is the fact that human remains were found. Let me just show you what it looks like now. So you can see that there still is a bit of a police presence, and all the way down the street here, Ardley Street, you can see there's a large group of people. So many people have been following this investigation. They've started to help even with the search. We heard there were over 40 people last night right in this neighborhood searching the grounds of the Arboretum, searching the grounds of this abandoned middle school. And, you know, there were a lot of emotions going on after police announced that they found human remains. So many people who are heartbroken for the family, so many people who are upset by the fact that, you know, remains were found now and not sooner, especially after some of those tips that they provided to police. Now, police tell us that they actually showed up here because of a very specific tip. It was an anonymous tip, and it led police behind this abandoned middle school to a heavily wooded area, and that's where they made the discovery here. So there's a lot to get into tonight. We're definitely going to keep you updated as we learn more. But again, the big notes on this: human remains were found belonging to a female. The remains have been here no longer than a week. This is a property that has been searched before in connection to the disappearance of 23-year-old Kada Scott. We've had her family on Good Day. We've interviewed them over these last couple of weeks, and we know how much she was loved and also how many people had so much pride in what she was doing. She was working in healthcare. She had opened up a beauty facial salon at a very young age. She was described as a go-getter. So obviously this is very heartbreaking discovery for the family. But again, police are going to wait to confirm through the medical examiner.
Where it's a wooded area. I don't know if any of you have been back there, but it's a wooded area that goes beyond the school. And so we begin to go back into that area where we will locate a shallow grave after being able to remove some of the debris back there, able to locate the body of a human being. All indications at this point is that it's a female. We are not going to confirm at this point that it is Miss Kada Scott, because that has to be done by the medical examiner's office. But we have been in communication with her family as to this process, and the fact that we have recovered a human being. And so at this point, it's still a lot of work to be done. I'll be very candid that we can't answer but so many questions. We're not going to get into the investigation at this point because we want to make sure that all of the pieces to this are done correctly and that we don't put out information ahead of time, because we want the people and the person that we have in custody and anybody else that may be involved in this, we want them held accountable to the highest degree of the law for what they have done. And so I just want that to be clear as to why we will not get into specific details. And so that's where we're at this point. Still a lot of work, but I must say a lot of work has been done around this case. As you know, we've been searching, have done multiple searches. We shut down the police academy. That was a decision made by myself and Commissioner Bethel to shut down the police academy over a week ago, where we brought out the entire group of recruits to comb through this area. Again, so I know, listen, no one is happy that this is the ending, and completely understand that this is a lot on our investigators, a lot on all of us, because again, we all have family members, and this could have been any one of our family members, could be anybody's family member, and that's understood, and that's the reason that you see that the tireless work has been done by starting with Northwest Detectives, and then by Homicide, by our partners through the FBI, through our forensics office, through any and everybody that has been a part of this process, because we wanted to bring some level of closure to this family. And so, again, we're going to wait until we have official confirmation on, as the medical examiner is going to do their process, and then we will bring that confirmation. But that's where we are right now. Again, I can't reiterate enough how much we appreciate, tips and information that have come in from the public. I still will urge the public that if you have any information, anything that you think is related to this, continue to give us that information via 215-686-TIPS. Still continue to give us that information because, again, we don't know if there are other individuals that have been a victim of this individual that we have in custody. And so I just want that to be clear, that please continue to provide that information if you have anything. But that's where we are at this point. I would also ask you to continue to pray for Ms. Scott's family.
What's the process of getting that official confirmation on whether it's her?
Well, at this point now, we're on the medical examiner's timeline. And so they will, the body will be recovered and transported to the medical examiner's office. And then they will go through their process methodically to ensure that, again, everything is done right. There's a court case that has to come behind this. And that's what I just want to be clear. I know sometimes it seems like the information is not coming fast enough, but we have a job to Ms. Scott. We have a job to her family. Again, if this is confirmed that this is her, to ensure that we are doing everything in the proper way to make sure that the individuals are held accountable. And so we don't want to do anything to compromise that. And so that's why we will be on their timeline. Once we get confirmation, then we will give that to you all and be able to move forward with that process.
This area was combed earlier this week. I'm wondering why it took until now for the remains to be found.
Have you ever been in the woods of any location?
I'm from Appalachia.
Okay, and so then you can understand that it's not an easy process. And when you know that you're looking for something, but don't know where someone hid it, it's not that easy of a process. And so we were here, we were on the other side. We had plans to do some additional searches as the weekend concluded, as well as going into next week. And so the area where we were back here. And our dogs were back here. Officers were back here. Again, there is a lot of wooded area. And so we're grateful today that we're here. Make no mistake about it, if we had located the body yesterday, this in terms of this discovery would not, this person has been deceased for a few days. And so for some time, I'm not going to say how many days, but this didn't just happen yesterday. And so, yeah, we did a lot of work. And again, I'm proud of the men and women in this organization that have, been doing the work to try to locate Ms. Scott. And again, in our minds, we know this was a possible reality. And here we are, unfortunately.
Does the timeline match up?
There's a timeline of what?
In terms of when she went missing and how long it looks like that
As I said,
around?
I am not going to get into any of the investigative process because I don't want to mess up this case. And I don't want anyone picking apart what we say and trying to create a defense. I want to make sure that we do our jobs in the most diligent way. We give the district attorney's office an opportunity to do their job in the most diligent way, and that we get a prosecution on this incident here. And so I'm not going to get into any parts of the investigation, not out of disrespect, but just simply because I want to make sure that the person we have in custody and anybody else that was involved in this, that they are held accountable the way that they should be. And so that's why I'm not getting into the specifics of the case.
The specific tip that came in, could you get into more detail about what was specific about it? Is it in location and was it from a community member?
I won't get into the specifics. There's an anonymous tip that came in through our tip line, as we have been asking for. But it was very specific as to detailing us and directing us to a specific location in the wooded area, going back to your question, a very specific location that narrowed it down. Don't know who the tip is from, but grateful that the individual submitted the tip that brought us back here to this location this morning.
Just this last question. Forget the cursing and the yelling at you guys. It just shows that there's passion behind this. What do you want to say about the passion of the community? They were out here, as you know, last night searching as well. Just your thoughts on just the community's involvement in this case.
Listen, I am not offended by the passion that some of the remarks that have been made as we were walking back. I'm not offended at all, because that's people's emotion, and this is an emotional situation, and so it's to be understood. However, I know what we have done, and the amount of hours that have been put into this process of trying to locate Ms. Scott. I know the work that has been done to bring the individual in the custody that we have in custody, and I know the work that these investigators will continue to do to ensure that we wrap this case up and that we do everything to hold the people accountable in the proper way. And so listen, we can't be upset at that. I mean, that's emotion. If that was my family member or if I was someone I knew, I would have the same level of emotion. And listen, to be quite frank about it, the reason I go through the steps of what we have done is because not every community member, they don't know that we shut down the police academy to bring 300 recruits up here to go searching through an area. They don't know that. They don't know that we had teams of dogs from New Jersey State Police come into Philadelphia to help us in the search process. They don't know that. And so it's my job to make sure that I express that, so they know that this police department, we took this case serious. We take every case serious, but the work that's been done to again, bring this to some conclusion. Is this the conclusion that we wanted? Absolutely not. But at this point now, we have to do everything in our power to ensure that we bring justice for this family and some level of closure. And so to answer that, no, it's understandable. Listen, that passion you need, because that's also the passion that helps you drive in the tips. That's the passion that gets you to have the support from the community and getting the information that we got. And so it's understandable.
Could we hear from the ADA as well?
Absolutely.
Once and if it is confirmed that this is Kada, what does this mean for King?
It means that we do our job. It means that we take everything that we know, we take everything that we found out today, we let the MEs do what they do, and then everything will come to us and we'll make the determination of whether we add additional charges.
And what would those additional charges be?
Once we hear from the ME, I'll have a better answer on that. Obviously, we're like you said, we're going in order. Right now, we're on to the ME. They're going to do their investigation. As soon as we hear from them, it'll guide us in what we do.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
it. Go away, bitch. Don't come over here. Karen, call the cops. Call the, it's all these kids in here. Call the cops and them. He coming around the window. Go that way, Cameron. Yeah, go away, bye. Go away, bye. Yep, bye. Bye. Keon out here.
Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, right? But let me tell you something. This is also a city that's witnessed over 560 homicides in a single year. A place where a young woman can vanish from her job and somehow nobody sees a thing. No security cameras, no witnesses, no nothing. Just a car sitting in a parking lot and a family drowning in questions they shouldn't have to ask. Kada Scott was 23 years old. She had dreams, she had goals, she had a whole life ahead of her. And she deserves way better than what happened to her. So we're going to talk about what really went down that night because her story, it needs to be heard.
Hi everybody, my name is Kada, and I don't know what type of content I want to do yet. I think I want to do lifestyle, fashion, and girl talk. Today I decided to do a picnic.
This is Kada Scott, 23 years old, born and raised in Philadelphia. And when I tell you this young woman was about her business, I mean she was really about it. Fresh graduate from Penn State with a degree in communication. She was into everything: fashion, modeling, fitness, cooking, music. She had her own fashion line she was building. Girl was versatile, you hear me? She wasn't just out here dreaming either. Kada was putting in the work. 2 weeks before she disappeared, she started a new job at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill, a senior living facility in Northwest Philadelphia. She was working as a nursing assistant, trying to pay her way through college, stack her money, build her future. To everyone who knew her, Kada was the type of person who had her head on straight. Creative, kind, kept to herself mostly. Her family describes her as someone who just wanted to get the best out of life. And she was doing exactly that, juggling school, work, building her brand online. She had thousands of followers watching her journey. This was a young woman on the rise. But here's where things start to shift. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Kada confided in her friends about something that was bothering her. She told them she'd been getting harassing phone calls. Someone she didn't know, or maybe someone she did, was calling her repeatedly. She even posted some pictures on her fitness page, and if you look close you can see someone in the background taking photos of her. Like someone was watching. Someone was always around. Her family didn't know how serious it was at the time. None of us did. But Kada felt it. She knew something wasn't right. October 4th, 2025. That's the day everything changed. That's the day Kada Scott's life got interrupted in the worst possible way. Kada showed up for her shift at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill that Saturday night. Her shift was supposed to run from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., a standard overnight. The facility was only 5 minutes away from her house. 5 minutes, she'd done this shift before. It should have been routine. But girl, routine went completely out the window. Around 9:45 p.m., Kada left the building. She didn't finish her shift. She didn't call anyone. She just left. And for anyone who knew Kada, that alone was a red flag waving high in the sky, because this was not like her at all. Her mother was the last person in her family to see her alive. That was the night before, around 9:50 p.m., when Kada was heading out to work. Just a regular goodbye. The kind you don't think twice about because you assume you'll see that person again. But after Kada walked out of that senior home that Saturday night, her phone went dark. No calls, no texts. Every single one of her social media accounts went silent, and we're talking about someone who was active online every single day. Her family started panicking immediately because they knew something was wrong. By Sunday morning, Kata's phone was going straight to voicemail. Her Apple Watch, her iPad, her iPhone, all of her devices were offline, completely untraceable. And here's the thing that made it even more suspicious. Her car was still sitting in the parking lot at her job. The car was there. The keys, gone. Her tablet, gone. Her phone, gone. It's like she just evaporated into thin air. Make it make sense. A young woman leaves work early. Her car stays behind. All her valuables disappear. And nobody saw nothing. No cameras around the facility. No security footage. In 2025. Really? Her family wasn't waiting around for answers. They immediately filed a missing person report with the Philadelphia Police Department. And let me tell you, They were out here doing everything, posting flyers, organizing searches, begging the public for any information, anything at all. The police got involved and their investigation started pointing them in a specific direction. They learned that Kada had been communicating with someone that night, a man named King, 21 years old. And according to what investigators were piecing together, King may have met up with Kada shortly after she left work. Now here's where it gets real heavy. King wasn't some random person off the street. He had history, and not the kind of history you want anywhere near someone you love. Before Kada went missing, another young woman had an encounter with this man, and she recorded it. What you're about to hear is her desperately trying to protect herself while he's outside her home, aggressive, unhinged, refusing to leave. That's who we're dealing with.
Go away, bitch. Don't come over here. Karen, call the cops. Call the... It's all these kids in here. Call the cops and them. He coming around the window. Go that way, Cameron. Yeah, go away. Bye. Go away. Bye. Yep, bye. Bye. Keon out here.
That's the man police would later arrest in connection with Kada's disappearance. A man with a documented pattern of harassing, stalking, and terrorizing women. But we'll get to that. Days passed with no sign of Kada, no phone activity, no bank transactions, nothing. It's like she just got erased from existence. Her family was going through it, and I mean really going through it. Imagine your child, your niece, your cousin just gone, and every hour that passes the fear gets louder. Police were following every lead they could find. They processed Kada's car and found no signs of foul play inside, but the fact that her keys and all her devices were missing told them this wasn't a case of someone just walking away from their life. This was something else. Investigators started doing what they call a deep dive into Kada's social media. They were looking at her followers, her interactions, trying to figure out if someone online had become obsessed with her. Because here's the reality: when you're a young woman with a platform, with visibility, you become a target. People start feeling like they know you, like they have access to you, and some people take that way too far. The case got serious enough that it was transferred from the Northwest Detective Division to the Homicide Unit. Now I want to be clear, police said they weren't declaring this a homicide. They just needed their most experienced investigators on it, the ones with the most resources. But let's be real, when a case gets handed to homicide, everybody knows what that means. They're preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. Around this time, Kada's family started getting desperate for answers, and one of her aunts, who describes herself as spiritual, someone who works in the spirit world, came forward with her own insight into what she believed happened.
So, update on my niece, Kada Scott. Y'all know I'm spiritual, but y'all know I'm a two-headed doctor, treater, seer, all above. To give you an update, of course, this particular case that I solve unsolved cases all the time before it's authorities, the news, things of that sort, and people revert back to my page like, oh my gosh, you were right, da-da-da-da. Update on my niece. I don't want to say too many things that I know what is happening right now, based out of respect for the family. For me, I understand more better because of who I am and how I carry in the spirit world, things of that sort. I will tell you this. My niece is still in the area of between the job and the park. That's what I will tell you. I will tell you that there's 3 people involved. I will tell you that one person has dreadlocks. I will tell you that the job does know what something is going on with it. I will tell you that my niece got in a car to sit with the parties, and it wound up being a drive-off situation into an argument. It is not sexually that's involved. It is a lot of, assault and things of that sort. And, that led to, it's a transition situation. So, that's the update. So if you ever want to have updates on what's going on with my niece or my son's cousin, then, yeah. Here's my page. And we will find Kada. And her spirit is very strong. And, continue to pray for the family. I shield my son and protect my son. and allow spirit to do what it does. I will elaborate on this more once the case is resolved because I feel like it's more appropriate. But that's just enough for now. Ashay?
Now, look, I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but in the Black community, we know that sometimes our elders, our spiritual folks, they tap into things that can't be explained with evidence and logic. And what this aunt said was specific. She said Kata was still in the area between the job and the park. She said 3 people were involved. She said 1 person had dreadlocks. She said Kata got into a car with these people and it turned into an argument, an assault, and eventually a transition. She said it wasn't sexual. She said the job knew something, and she said her niece's spirit was strong. Whether you believe in that or not, what happened next proved that at least some of her instincts were pointing in the right direction. Police weren't playing around anymore. They knew time was critical. Every hour that passed made finding Kata harder, so they brought in reinforcements, the FBI, the Violent Crime Task Force, and they started coordinating a massive search operation. One of the places they focused on was the Morris Arboretum. It's this huge wooded area in northwest Philadelphia, and based on the evidence they were following, they had reason to believe Kata might be there. But let me tell you, searching that place was no joke. We're talking acres and acres of dense woods, trails, fences, all kinds of terrain that's hard to navigate. They brought in their academy classes, officers in training to help cover more ground. Crime scene investigators gave them specific instructions on what to look for, how to search properly. Everybody was out there combing through that area, hoping to find something, anything that would tell them where Kata was. They came up empty, nothing, not a single trace of her in that entire arboretum. But the investigation kept moving. Police had digital evidence, phone records, surveillance footage from various parts of the city, tracking data, and all of it kept pointing back to one person, Kian King. Remember that 1999 gold Toyota Camry I mentioned? The one that Kata's car keys should have opened, but that car wasn't hers, it was his. Police had footage of that vehicle all over Philadelphia. They spotted it in Mount Airy, in Center City, down in the southwest, over in Gray's Ferry. This car was moving, and they believed Kata had been inside it at some point. The car had heavy front-end damage on the left bumper, real noticeable. But here's the problem, nobody could find it. King had gone ghost. The car vanished. His phone went dark. He stopped using his known addresses. Dude was actively hiding. Then on October 15th, 11 days after Kata disappeared, police finally caught up with him. Kian King was arrested and charged with kidnapping.
All right. Good morning. Just want to give you an update on the disappearance of Kada Scott, which occurred on October 4th, 11 days ago. Going to provide you an update in terms of an individual that is currently in custody for his involvement in the disappearance of Miss Scott. However, still a lot of work needs to be done. And so just want to make that very clear as to why we are here and the information that you will receive. Essentially letting you know how we have gotten here, but more so the public's help that we need right now. The public has been very, very helpful thus far in providing a lot of information, which the investigators have been able to track down a lot of the leads, which has helped us get to this point here. But as I said, a lot of work still to be done. The number one priority is locating Miss Scott. I just want to make that very clear. And so while we are at this stage of this now, that's our priority. And so we will ask for your help in locating this vehicle, which you'll get a little more information. It's a 1999 metallic gold Toyota Camry with a Pennsylvania tag of MSX0797. But we need to know where this car is. We need to find this car. Making this very clear, it's not to just focus on the northwest section of the city of Philadelphia. This car has traversed through the entire city. And so I want that to be clear, that every neighborhood, every person listening to this, whether you're in North Philly, South Philly, Southwest, Northwest, please open your eyes and see if you locate this car or if you have seen this car. Please contact us and give us that information. The second part of this is the individual that Deputy Commissioner Venor will provide his information very shortly. Want folks to understand this person has a little bit of a pattern of this type of history. And so we want to encourage anyone that may have been involved with this individual, anyone that may know this individual, please, at this point in time, make that phone call. Feel comfortable enough to call us and let us know if you have any information regarding this person, regarding any interaction you've had with this individual. If you have been the victim of any crime regarding this individual, want you to understand now is the time to make that phone call and let us know. Give us that information so that we can continue on. Again, just want to make it very clear that a lot of work has been done, starting off with Northwest Detective Division, and then this case shifting over to homicide, making it very clear that the case was shifted to homicide because we have the most experienced investigators in our homicide unit. They have the most experience dealing with all types of investigations. They also have the most resources available to them. And so we have the hopes that we are still treating this as if Ms. Scott is still alive. And that's why we want the public's help in trying to locate every single piece of this. But I just wanted to make that clear because I know there's been some reports once it shifted over to homicide, folks not understanding the why. And so that's the reason behind that. At this point in time, again, appreciate the help that we've gotten. I want to turn everything over to Deputy Venora to go into more details about the individual that has been taken into custody and some other pertinent facts of the investigation.
The Philadelphia Police Department held a press conference and Commissioner Kevin Bethel came out to update the public. He made it clear that even though they had someone in custody, this case was far from over. The number one priority was still finding Kada. That's what he emphasized. They needed the public's help locating that gold Camry because they believed the car held answers. And he made sure to stress that this wasn't just a Northwest Philly problem. That car had been all over the city. North, south, southwest, every neighborhood needed to be on the lookout. Then Deputy Commissioner Frank Venori stepped up and laid out exactly what their investigation had uncovered. And girl, when he started talking, it became crystal clear that this man, Kian King, was dangerous.
All right, good morning. Just to reiterate what the Commissioner Stanford said, we've been investigating this since Saturday, October 4th in the evening, the last time Kada Scott was seen at her place of work up in Mount Airy area. Our evidence that we followed, and we did involve a lot of investigators on this, led us to several places, that digital evidence, and as everybody knows, we searched a very large area up in the Aubrey Arboretum, and we came up really with negative results. After that time, we asked the Homicide Division, the FBI Violent Crime Task Force to enter into the investigation to assist. All right, and we continued our search trying to track Ms. Scott's whereabouts along with anybody she may have encountered during that time. Our evidence is pretty clear that she was in communication with an individual. That individual appears to meet her very shortly after she leaves her place of work. And very shortly after that, she disappears off of the footprint. We have a lot of digital evidence, video and other, which provides us with this individual by the name of Keon, K-E-O-N, King, K-I-N-G. We believe this individual, and through our evidence, we were able to charge this individual. The district attorney was able to charge the individual. You'll hear from them shortly with kidnapping at this point. It's very important to know we're not done our investigation. We need to find Ms. Scott, figure out where she is, or what may have happened to her to cause her to completely disappear from all her items, her phone, her Instagram, social media sites, and everywhere else, work. She left her car at that location. So it's very important that this individual, who does have prior history of being arrested, especially for this very same thing, this year was charged with kidnapping another female acquaintance. That case was dismissed from court, and I'll explain it. It's going to be refiled now as we're going to move forward to attempt. So he's being really charged with 2 cases today of kidnapping. And that case, it involves assaults that occurred during the kidnapping. So this is a pattern of behavior. That vehicle that you've seen, the Toyota Camry, was his vehicle. All right. That vehicle's not recovered. All right. Some of the stuff he did as we attempted to find him was he got rid of things like the car, the phone. We're not able to find things that he was using. He had an address in Southwest Philadelphia. He had other addresses that it looks like he's not using anymore. So he attempted to elude us for some time. He did come in last night. He's here being processed, but there's a lot of questions we still have. So we're asking the public's help. We need it more than ever. This car, you'll see a better picture of it. We sent it to you digitally. It's a gold colored Camry, 1999. It has heavy front end damage on the left front bumper. All right, that's being described that way several times. We know it's been in the Mount Airy area. We have photos of it in Center City. We have pictures of it in Grace Ferry area and in Southwest Philadelphia. So it's possible that it could be anywhere. It could be outside the city. So if somebody sees this, thinks they know where this car is, it's very possible it doesn't have this tag on it anymore. So if you see a car like it, we're urging you to call police, have it investigated. Any information on this, you can call our tip line, 215-686-TIPS, 8477, or the Homicide Division directly and give that information. All right, I'm going to turn things over to ADA Teslowski, who could speak a little more about the charges and potentially other charges that he's facing.
Venor explained that all their evidence showed Kada was communicating with King that night, and very shortly after she left work, he met up with her. Then she disappeared completely off every digital footprint, every platform, everything. Just gone. But here's the part that should make your blood boil. This wasn't Key and King's first time doing this. Earlier that same year, 2025, he had been arrested and charged with kidnapping another woman. A domestic situation where he allegedly threw a woman into her own car, assaulted her, and held her against her will before eventually letting her go. That case, it got dismissed. The victim didn't show up to court, so the district attorney's office withdrew the charges. So what happened? This man walked free, and months later, Kada Scott went missing. Assistant District Attorney Ashley Teslowski explained the charges they were filing against King. The lead charge was kidnapping because at that point they still didn't know where Kada was. They couldn't confirm what happened to her, but what they could confirm was that King was the last known person in contact with her, and he was in contact with her right when she went offline. They also served him with charges for that previous kidnapping case. So now he was facing two separate kidnapping cases. Two women. Same pattern of behavior. And moving on to what they knew about King's relationship with Kada, police weren't saying much at that point. They confirmed that the two knew each other, that they'd been in communication, but how long they'd known each other and the exact nature of their relationship was still under investigation. What mattered was that he was there that night, and after she got in that car with him, nobody heard from her again. Here's where things took a major turn. Right after that morning press conference, police got a tip. Someone called in saying there might be evidence at an old school building not too far from the Arboretum they'd searched days earlier. Officers rushed to the location, Henry H. Houston Elementary School. The place had been closed for years, abandoned, sealed up, but they made entry and started searching the grounds, and they found something. Physical evidence that tied Kada Scott to that location. Police wouldn't say exactly what they found, but they made it clear it was significant. The evidence was discovered outside the school building, and it was enough to confirm that Kada had been there at some point. That was a major development because it meant they were getting closer to piecing together what happened to her. They brought in K-9 units, crime scene investigators, drone operators. They searched that entire school property top to bottom, the building itself, all the surrounding grounds, every inch of that area. It was an all-hands-on-deck situation. But even with that evidence, even with the search efforts, Kada still wasn't found. Not that day, not in the days that followed. Eventually, police did locate the gold Camry, that vehicle King had been driving all over the city, the one they believed Kada had been inside. They found it, but by the time they recovered it, King had already tried to cover his tracks. He'd gotten rid of his phone, ditched the car, stopped using his addresses. He knew exactly what he was doing. King sat in custody facing serious charges, 2 kidnapping cases, reckless endangerment, use of a communication facility. The evidence against him was stacking up: digital records, witness statements, surveillance footage, physical evidence. During the legal proceedings, prosecutors laid out the timeline. Kada arrived at work just before 10 p.m. She was only there for about 20 minutes before she left. In those 20 minutes, she and King were communicating. He met her shortly after she walked out, and then everything went dark. The defense tried to poke holes in the timeline, question the strength of the evidence, but the prosecution had phone records, they had video of the car, they had physical evidence tying Kada to that school location. The assistant district attorney made it clear this man was the last person with her and he has a documented history of doing this exact thing to women. As for that previous kidnapping case from earlier in the year, the victim in that situation did eventually come forward again. There was even video evidence showing King's violent behavior during that incident. The case was refiled and now he had to answer for both. Period. While all this was unfolding, people online had a whole lot to say. Social media was buzzing with theories, opinions, frustration. Some folks were side-eyeing Kata's co-workers, wondering if they knew more than they were saying. Others were questioning why there were no security cameras at the facility. Like in 2025, a workplace doesn't have surveillance. That didn't sit right with a lot of people. Then there were those pointing fingers at the justice system. How does a man get charged with kidnapping and assault and then that case just gets dismissed? How does he walk free and then another woman disappears months later? People were angry, and rightfully so. But the biggest question everybody kept asking was the same one Kata's family was asking. Where is she? Is she still alive? Is she being held somewhere? Or did the worst already happen? As of the time this story is being told, Kada Scott has not been found. Not alive, not deceased. She is simply gone. And that uncertainty is torture for everyone who loves her. Her family hasn't stopped searching. They haven't stopped hoping. They haven't stopped demanding answers. Because Kata deserves to be found. She deserves justice. She deserves to come home. So here we are. Kian King is behind bars. The evidence is mounting. The timeline has been established. But the one thing that matters most, the one thing Kata's family needs more than anything is still missing. Kata herself. And that reality sits heavy. Because in cases like this, we're used to getting closure. We're used to investigations wrapping up with answers, even when those answers break our hearts. But this is different. This is a family stuck in limbo, not knowing if their daughter is out there somewhere waiting to be found, or if they're searching for something else entirely. The questions that remain are the ones that keep people up at night. What exactly was the nature of the relationship between Kata and King? How did they know each other? How long had they been in contact? Police said they were investigating that, but they never gave the public a clear answer. And maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe what they found was too complicated, too messy, too painful to put out there while the investigation was still active. What was said in those communications between them that night? What made Kata leave work early? Something she'd never done before. Was she lured out? Was she threatened? Did she think she was meeting him for one reason and it turned into something completely different? We may never know what those messages said, but they hold the key to understanding what happened in those final moments before she disappeared. And the biggest question of all is Kada Scott still alive? That's the one her family is clinging to. That's the one that keeps hope alive even when logic says otherwise. Because until there's definitive proof, until there's a body, until there's concrete evidence that says she's gone, her family has to believe she's out there. They have to, because the alternative is unthinkable. But let's be real for a second. The evidence isn't pointing toward a happy ending. A young woman vanishes. Her phone goes dark. Physical evidence ties her to an abandoned location. The man she was last seen with has a history of violence against women. And despite extensive searches, despite all the resources poured into finding her, she hasn't been located. That doesn't mean we stop looking. That doesn't mean we stop demanding answers. But it does mean we have to prepare ourselves for the possibility that when Kada is found, it won't be the reunion her family is praying for. Now let's talk about the part of this story that makes me angry. Because this isn't just about one man and one victim. This is about a system that failed. Again, Kian King was arrested and charged with kidnapping earlier in 2025. He allegedly threw a woman into a car, assaulted her, held her against her will. There was video evidence, there were charges filed. The case went to court. And then it got dismissed because the victim didn't show up. Now, I'm not blaming that woman. I need to make that clear. Victims of domestic violence and kidnapping face unimaginable pressure. They're scared. They're traumatized. Sometimes they're being threatened. Sometimes they just can't face their abuser in court. Sometimes the system makes it so hard for them to participate that they give up. I get all of that. But what I don't get is how the system allows a case like that to just disappear. How does a man with a documented history of violent behavior toward women get to walk free without any accountability? How does that happen? And then, months later, another woman goes missing. A woman who had confided in friends that she was being harassed. A woman who showed all the signs of being in danger. And now she's gone. Make it make sense. This is what happens when we don't take violence against women seriously. This is what happens when cases get dismissed, because victims are too afraid or too exhausted to keep fighting. This is what happens when we treat stalking and harassment like minor inconveniences instead of the warning signs they actually are. Kada Scott might still be here if that first case had been prosecuted. If Kian King had been held accountable the first time, he wouldn't have been free to meet up with Kada that night. He wouldn't have been able to drive her around in that gold Camry. He wouldn't have been able to make her disappear. But he was free. And now a family is living in agony, not knowing if their daughter is alive or dead. Kada Scott was 23 years old. She had just graduated from college. She was working to pay her way, building her brand, chasing her dreams. She was a daughter, a niece, a friend, a creator. She had people who loved her and a future that should have been bright. Her story is a reminder that disappearances don't happen in a vacuum. They don't just come out of nowhere. There are always warning signs. There are always red flags. Kada told people she was being harassed. She knew something wasn't right. And still, she ended up gone. This case forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about how we protect women or how we fail to. It makes us look at the justice system and wonder how many other cases like Kada's are out there. How many other women have gone missing after someone with a violent history was allowed to walk free. And it reminds us that behind every missing person case, there's a family in pieces. There are mothers who can't sleep. There are siblings scrolling through old photos. There are friends replaying the last conversation they had, wishing they'd said something different, wishing they'd seen the danger coming. Kada's family is still searching. They're still hoping. They're still putting up flyers and making phone calls and begging anyone with information to come forward. Because they need answers. They need closure. They need to bring Kada home one way or another. If you know anything, and I mean anything, about what happened to Kada Scott, you need to speak up. If you saw that 1999 gold Toyota Camry with the front end damage driving around Philadelphia between October 4th and October 15th, call the police. If you had any interaction with Kian King during that time, if you know where he went, who he was with, what he did, say something. This isn't just about solving a case. This is about giving a family peace. This is about making sure Kada's story doesn't end in silence and unanswered questions. Her phone went dark on October 4th, 2025. Her social media stopped. Her voice was silenced, but ours doesn't have to be. We remember Kada Scott, we say her name, we demand justice, and we don't stop until she's found. Rest in peace or rest in power, Kada, whichever one you need. Your story has been heard. This has been Unheard Cries TV, where we give voice to the stories that need to be told. If this case touched you, if it made you angry, if it made you want to do something, share it, talk about it. Don't let Kada's name fade into the background. And remember, domestic violence and relationship violence are real.